Hello folks, this is Brother Mike, and I'm coming at you once again from the great city of Worcester, Massachusetts, which is my home. I live in an area of Worcester which they call South Main. It's one of the most impoverished areas of Worcester. I keep saying this every time I come on because I want you people to understand that, Brother Mike is very, very interested in the welfare of his neighbors. And that's part of the reason why I do these videos. I want you to know what it's like for me, a thinking, caring person, to live in an area of a city where the authorities care nothing about the inhabitants, and the inhabitants care very little about themselves. And, when you get a combination of those two elements, you really get a sad place, But God has put me here in this place for a reason. I'm beginning to find out precisely what that reason is. I joined a ministry in the neighborhood. It's the Emmanuel Baptist Church on 717 South Main Street right here in Worcester. And I've been going there for about 3 months now. I'm proud to say that I've been appointed as the missionary outreach director for Emmanuel Baptist. And boy, there couldn't be a better place for a missionary outreach than South Main in my neighborhood. And I want to report to you today about a very disturbing event that, I got myself involved in. And the reason I got myself involved in this event is because Brother Mike's got a pretty big mouth, But hey, guess what, folks? The First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America gives us the right to have a big mouth, I know you think I'm broadcasting from Syria or Egypt or something like that. We had the 4th of July just passed, so, I guess people have a lot of fireworks left over, so you'll have to kind of bear with me as I move along forward. This again is about the Worcester Police Department setting right here in my neighborhood, South Main Street. I told you about it. It's an area that's plagued by crime related to prostitution, alcoholism, and drug addiction, and the evidence of these crimes is manifested in this neighborhood every day, every hour of the day, morning, noon, and night. There is just no escape from it. It's ever present and totally unrestrained. It's a blight on the city of Worcester. Okay, so now you know where we're at. Let me tell you what happened, all right? Brother Mike was sitting up in his place of residence. A lot of activity going on outside. You have to be able to distinguish between benign and threatening activity around here, because everybody's kind of loud, and after a certain time of the day they get themselves all drunked up, and they're either having a lot of fun or they're getting ready to kill each other, okay? Well, in this particular instance, they were getting ready to kill each other. Brother Mike heard people outside yelling, screaming, threatening to murder one another, and Brother Mike figured, hey, probably should call 911. Isn't this what a reasonable citizen who cares about his neighbors would do? Of course. Okay, so I called 911. It was Monday, July the 17th, around 10:30 p.m. And took 3 police cruisers, less than 10 minutes to make it to the scene. Very nice response time. However, the crowd had dispersed and the people had kind of gone about their business by the time the police came, However, the police did get out of their cruisers. They parked right in front of my building, and I was upstairs, but I took advantage of a landing that we have on the 3rd floor that overlooks the front of the building to just kind of view what was going on. And then there was a conversation between the police and 3 responding police officers and 4 of my neighbors, And it was... I didn't see the police take a pencil out of their pocket. I didn't see them take a pad out of their pocket. They did not appear to be gathering any information about this disturbance that I had reported, okay? And this kind of irked Brother Mike, So I listened for a while at them chatting downstairs. And when I started to hear them laughing and, this atmosphere of levity and, the police just taking a very nonchalant attitude, not even attempting to find out who the 911 caller was. I mean, same thing that they do it many of the times. I don't want to get down on these guys too much, but many of the times when they come here, they do not enforce the law. you know. And, I called down. I was sitting with my next door neighbor. Her name is Gretchen. And I called down. The window was open. The screen was up, you know. And I says, I don't really think there's anything funny about what's been going on in this neighborhood. And a light hit me in the face. These guys have very powerful flashlights, And I let the light sit on my face, blinding me, for a time. And then I simply asked if they could take the light away from my face, And Gretchen was sitting right next there to me. And so the cop, his name is Matthew Tivenen. Officer Matthew Tivenen says to me, "Come downstairs and say that." Almost like a threat. Brother Mike is a 62-year-old grown man. And my father doesn't even tell me what to do anymore because my father's no longer alive, But, I'm not afraid of the police, and they don't like that. So you know what I said? I says, you know what? I'll be right down. It'd be my pleasure to come downstairs. I'll be right down. And I went downstairs, and I repeated to the police officer that I felt that they weren't really doing their job around this area, because what people do, and I didn't even have a chance to tell them this, people sit around outside. They're at the liquor store down here on South Main Street at 8 o'clock in the morning, people. I mean, it's like, like they're on a pilgrimage, and they start drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning. They drink continuously all day, sitting on the front steps of these buildings, big as Billy be damned, with their open containers, hawking up lungas, spitting them all over the sidewalk, trash, from the junk that they eat to sustain their nutrition during the day, all over the sidewalk. The poor people up the street, they have children that live up there. They, God knows what they tell their children when it comes time for them to pass through this little area here at the end of Oriad Street, But I hope they tell them to run and don't talk to anybody. Because some of these people around here are just desperately wicked. I have a person in my building right now that not only is he a thief and a dope peddler, this guy is pimping his own daughter for $25 to pay rent. Okay, that's the kind of quality of individual you have around here. Oh, anyway. Well, I guess Officer Tivenen didn't appreciate let me shut this window. Yeah. I guess Officer Tivenen didn't appreciate very much, my cojones in coming down in the first place, and he appreciated even less my opinion of what their police work is like around here, So the guy tells me, "Hey, get upstairs." Like I'm some kind of child of his, like I'm not a constituent member of this republic, like I'm some kind of a shit bum, a peon with no rights. So I told him, I says, officer, since I'm not being charged with a crime, and since I do live here, I think I'm going to exercise my right to just stay downstairs. Hey, this guy went off, Officer Matthew Tivenen. Guy went off. Guy grabs Brother Mike. Brother Mike is 62 years old, 154 pounds, diabetic with high blood pressure. I'm a senior citizen, okay? I don't like to admit it, but I hope that a lot of other brothers are able to say that at some point in their lives, but I'm a senior citizen. This guy, who was probably about 280 pounds, grabbed me, held my hands behind my back, put one of his arms up against the bottom of my neck, and he began shoving me violently into a chain link fence with the side of my face hitting the fence about 3 times. All right? Shook brother Mike up. It's been a long time since Brother Mike been brutalized by the police. Been a long time since Brother Mike has been in a conversation with a Cro-Magnon who, when he doesn't agree with you, thinks he has some kind of right to grab you and brutalize you like this Matthew Tivenen of the Worcester Police Department, all right? Finally, he cuffs me, and then he keeps me there for a short while. You know, they have to wait for this paddy wagon to come. Oh, wait a minute. Let me tell you what he said to me, all right? He said, if you don't want to go upstairs, well, then you can go to jail. And then he grabs me and starts brutalizing me and shoving my face into the fence and cuffing me. And I said to him, I says, what's the charge? A disorderly person, he says, disturbing the peace. There's 4 people, my neighbors, standing right there watching this whole matter, you know, in utter amazement. You know, 2 of them are going to testify for me in court because what this officer has said. Let me just read you some of the excerpts from this guy's police report, okay? This is Officer Matthew Tivenen. And I got to say, you know, the other guy that was with him, Dave, whatever his name is, Dave Doherty, he was a pretty decent guy, you know? I mean, you can tell he had an intellectual mind. He was ready to get into a discussion about the issues in the community and how the police can maybe function a little bit better. But this Tivenen had some kind of reason for being very, very hostile towards me and brutal towards me, you know? And this is his description of the events. I don't know if you people have ever seen any other of my videos. Some of you know me personally. You tell me if this sounds like me, all right? I'll just read you a couple of the things, and please excuse the language. It's not my words, it's his. You know, I then told, but this is about the flashlight. I looked up, and due to the darkness, I could not see exactly where the voice was coming from. Officer Brendan Tivnen, Tivnen, which appears to be the brother of Matthew Tivnen, or related to him somehow. I didn't know that they send related police officers to crime scenes. But anyway, Brendan Tivenen then illuminated the front of 14 Oriat Street with flashlight. No, he didn't illuminate the front of 14 Oriat Street. He illuminated my face, all right? Michael then yelled, now check this out. Don't you shine that fucking flashlight in my face. I advised Michael to stop yelling. Michael then yelled, don't you tell me what to do and get that fucking flashlight out of my face. Okay? I then told Mike he needed to be quiet. I also advised him that he wished to speak to me. He could come outside and come downstairs so that we could talk in a normal voice without disrupting the neighborhood. He's the one yelling. Michael then yelled, you want me to come down? I'll be right down. You know, then he goes on to say that I got all up in his face and I was telling him to go fuck himself, and I was telling the other cops to go fuck themselves. And I mean, really, the guy was trying to make me look like some kind of a nigger, and not the missionary director for the Baptist Church, the Emmanuel Baptist Church, and not a degree-holding paralegal who graduated Phi Theta Kappa and who's worked for the juvenile court in Minnesota, you know, and cares about his neighbors and loves his neighbors, you know, trying to make me look like some kind of a nigger, you know. So I says, who's the complainant? Who complained about this? He says, well, I'm just going to put in my report that 5 people appeared on the porch across the street, you know, as a result of your loud talking, you know. And he did, you know. He says I'm flailing my arms. He says that at the top of... I advised Michael that he needed to be quiet and stop disturbing the neighborhood. Michael refused, continuing his disruptive behavior and walked down the stairs to my location. Michael was now in my face, continually yelling obscenities. This is a stone cold pack of lies, people. Michael refused to lower his voice and speak in a normal voice. I have observed that the residents of 14 Oriad Street, who were initially outside engaged in conversation, now appeared to be alarmed by Michael's behavior and went inside the building. I mean, these people across the street from my building were so alarmed, you know, by my behavior that 4 of them, and they're probably lucky they can walk a straight line at this time of the day, retreated to the inside of the building. They were so alarmed, you know. He even said that the 4 people, my neighbors, in the front of my building became so alarmed at the tumultuous disturbance that I raised that they retreated inside the building for their own safety, you know. People, come on now. You know as well as I do what these police, some of these police officers are like here in the city of Worcester, and the way they're tolerated by the police department. There's this guy Rojas that, thank God, he hurt his ankle on the job, and he's been collecting $78,000 a year from the city of Worcester. But prior to hurting his ankle, he cost the city of Worcester millions of dollars in police misconduct charges and brutality charges. And they were unable to do anything about him, giving a green light to these police officers in Worcester who take it upon themselves to become the judge, the jury, and the executioner in some matters, particularly involving people that they think are powerless. You know, and this is what angers Brother Mike the most, is that an ignoramus like Matthew Tivnen, who probably flunked or, you know, got a mercy pass on constitutional law in college, will come down to my house, bait me into coming outside, and then set me up for a beat down. You know? Well, hey, you know, you gotta wonder what would motivate somebody like this. You know, why would somebody want to beat up on a 62-year-old man, elderly man, you know, who is just stating what he believes is, you know, a legitimate thing. And I'm going to tell you something, people. If he would have listened to me, and they should have listened to me about this neighborhood, because what I told him, what I did manage to say before he grabbed me and assaulted me, was that one of these days somebody's going to get shot in this neighborhood. And it's going to happen at night, and it's going to happen after everybody's been drunk and drinking all day, you know? Well, guess what? 2 days later, top of the hill, somebody gets shot, all right? The day after that, a man hits a woman with a beer bottle over a drunken fight. She chases him down the street. She calls up a bunch of gangsters from some gang here in Worcester. They come over in a car, grab the poor guy, and beat the living snot out of him, broke his nose, fractured his cheekbone. It was horrible, you know. But he had no business throwing the beer bottle. But hey, a beat down like that, man, they're lucky they didn't kill the man, you know. I don't know what they... And these people got away scot-free, all right? Now, a little while later, apparently, you know, the police did arrive on that matter. You know, they arrived. It was a little while later. I don't know who called the cops. It wasn't me, because Brother Mike is not calling the police anymore. You know, Brother Mike, when he sees a crime, I got to turn my head, because there's too much of a risk that I'm gonna get beat down. You know, but somebody did call the police. Police came. Don't ask me what they did, but they were up and down the steps. They appeared to be doing a thorough investigation. There was a sergeant accompanying 4 other police officers, so it wasn't like Matthew Tivnen and his brother and this gentleman, and he's the only one that I'm going to refer to a gentleman as, David Doherty, you know, down here, you know, playing fast and loose with people's rights, you know. Okay, so somebody apparently called the cops. Well, guess what? You know, living around here is kind of like living in jail or a prison environment. If you call the police, you are endangering yourself, you know. People have enough respect for me around here as an older gentleman and a member of the church. You know, I try to get all my people in this neighborhood to come with me to church, you know, save their souls. Because the God's got a whole lot more for them than for them to be getting drunk and high and stoned all day and beating each other up and turning this place into a mess, you know, at the end of the day. You know, and I try to evangelize to these people. And a few of them have come to church, which I'm grateful of. Many of them have not, but they do give me my respect, which I appreciate, you know. However, you know, getting back to what I was saying, and of course I have kind of lost my spot, but what I'm trying to say is that, you know, this officer is a renegade. This officer came down, and this part is funny, people. Now, I haven't got to, because I'm trying to build up this thing. Why would he act this way towards me? Why would he, use this behavior? Well, guess what? When they took me away in this van, and they didn't even let me go upstairs and put on a pair of shoes, I had to walk home from the police station in my stocking feet. And if you know anything about a diabetic, that's the last thing you want to do is walk across the city in your stocking feet, And he's talking to one of these women here who's going to be a witness for me in court, who is going to contradict all of this stuff that this maniac, lying maniac, put in this report. She's going to contradict it, as well as Gretchen, because Gretchen was sitting up at that window viewing the whole thing and couldn't believe it when they arrested me, her good neighbor. But so he says to this woman, yeah, we know who this guy is. Check it out, people. He goes, he's the guy that has been putting those videos on YouTube critical of the Worcester Police Department. He knew, prior to probably even coming here, he knew that he was going to come, and that Brother Mike was the guy that made the call, and I bet you he invited his own blood brother to join him, as an audience. Because I'm sure this guy had hatred built up inside of him for me ever since he saw the first video. So what does he do? I mean, this is what I'm talking about, how Cro-Magnon and how stupid this man is. He tells the woman that he knows that I publish these videos and he hates me doing it. Could that be the reason why he used an extraordinarily excessive amount of force against me? I was not resisting arrest. Hey, I was ready to go. I was putting my hands right behind my back when he said, well, you're going to jail. My hands started going right behind my back. I didn't resist arrest when he grabbed me, and then I had to go to the St. Vincent's emergency ward of the hospital the next day after I got out of court, and they diagnosed me with acute pain to the neck and the upper back, and I had a previous neck injury from an automobile accident. So this guy has reactivated this neck injury that I've had with his brutality, Then is stupid enough to divulge his motive for the brutality, for violating my First Amendment rights, for violating my Fifth Amendment rights, for violating my 14th Amendment rights. Oh yeah, well, let's get to this part, okay? There's a camera on the front of the building. We have a camera on the front of this building. It records everything that goes on. It goes to the office in the building. It goes to the landlady's home. She's got some kind of nice place down in Florida. She can watch everything that's going on her monitors. And it goes to the police department in Worcester. It's a three-way feed. So while he's brutalizing me and making up this cock and bull story, there's a camera on the front of the building. All right? And maybe that's why 14th Amendment right, is due process. We're entitled to due process of law. Let's look at this report here. Here's the incident report. I'm going to hold it up so you can see this, Let me get it over there. Yeah, see, here it is. See, here's the incident report. And we have 2 signature lines. You see these signature lines on there? The signature of the arresting officer and a signature for the reviewing officer. No signatures, people. You mean to tell me that he's going to concoct a stone cold pack of lies like this? Probably got back to the station and found out that the police, it's on being recorded. Didn't have the nerve to sign it, and neither did a reviewing officer. These things are required to be reviewed because of the very reason that I'm talking to you right now. Because there's police and this police department and police all over the country. More people die at the hands of the police than they do at the hands of terrorists in America every year. So let's, depending on what part of the population you are, you got to ask yourself, who is the real terrorist, all right? Well, this guy didn't even have the balls, and excuse my language, to sign his own report, to stand up and say, yes, everything that I've mentioned in this report is true, by signing. He couldn't apparently get a reviewing officer to go along with him because his behavior was so outrageous and so egregious. Nobody in their right mind would endorse it. All right? I got an attorney following, when I get this thing dismissed and there's no likelihood of him prevailing, and I think he kind of realized this, he kind of hopes he would prevail, but really his main goal was to slap around the guy that publishes the videos that are not exactly complimentary of the Worcester Police Department. Well, how do you like this one? And if there's any other police officers around that want to grab Brother Mike and slap him around, come on, you can do it. I hope you don't kill me. I hope you don't hate me that much. Because guess what? I don't hate the police. I recognize the need for police. And I would want to cooperate with the police, especially in my neighborhood, because in my ministerial work, my objective is to make this a better community to live in. And that's part of what the police do too. I think we're partners in this endeavor. Because in the Bible, it says where there's no love, there's the law. And what Brother Mike is trying to do is bring some love to this neighborhood so that the law don't have to show up all the time. All right? So we should be working together, police department and people of God. We shouldn't be working apart from each other, even when we criticize each other. Even when we come out in a public manner on YouTube and publish videos that should raise legitimate concerns and are critical of the actions of the police. We have that right. It's called your right to free speech. It's called your right to redress of grievance. It's called your right to be your own journalist. Hey, and if people don't like it, there's a little comment section on the bottom of these videos. They can make their comment. I'll comment back, But if you're a police officer in the city of Worcester, I'm going to advise you, don't get so upset by these videos that when you intercept me, you end up brutalizing me in front of a camera, okay? Because all that's going to do is put some money in Brother Mike's pocket. So anyway, folks, I'm glad that you stuck with me here. And, we still have to go through the court's mess. I have a hearing on the 1st of August. It's a pre-trial hearing. I'm going to introduce a motion to dismiss that I'm pretty sure is going to prevail. Hopefully people from the church are going to be there as my character witnesses. I'm going to also present affidavits from the 2 women and the landlord who was down in the office watching the whole episode on the monitor. He's going to testify for me too about what he saw. And it's all going to be a direct contradiction of what Matthew Tivenen claims happened. Because Matthew Tivenen is a liar. Matthew Tivenen is a brute. Matthew Tivenen thinks he's a tough guy because he beats up senior citizens. Alright? And God takes care of people like you, Matthew Tivenen. That's sin. And sin gets punished, Even if your superiors don't punish you. You should be ashamed of yourself. And next time, look around to see if there's any cameras. So you can do your beat down and get away with it. Alright? So anyway, folks, I want to thank you for putting up with my mess. And I hope you take my words to heart, and I hope that, I don't know, how does this translate to you in your life, Maybe you can do things for people that help them. If you see somebody who's broken or who's weak, maybe you'll help them. Maybe you'll help them with their load, you know what I mean? if you see somebody, who can use like a shoulder to cry on, let them cry on your shoulder, because there's folks out there that are being confronted with so much, and it's so difficult for them to live. And this is what they're doing. They're reverting, to calm that pain, to make that pain go away. They're reverting to drugs. They're reverting to alcohol. They're reverting to self-destructive behaviors, And what we people of God, and we don't do it enough, I know even at my church, Emmanuel Baptist Church, you almost got to hit them with a cattle prod to get them outside the church to talk to a lost soul. But people of God, we need to reach out to these folks. And we also need to reach out to the police, because these people are lost souls too. Hey, look at the job that they have to do. How would you like to have to do that job? I wouldn't. I don't think I could handle it. You know what I mean? So we have to understand what makes probably what used to be a rational human being turn out to be somebody like Matthew Tivnen. A brutish Neanderthal who, rather than engage in a vigorous conversation, would prefer to just slap somebody around and violate their rights and, okay, he's a nigger, I'll be able to get away with it. Look at the street he lives on. What are people going to think? I can say anything I want to say about this guy. Well, you picked the wrong guy, Matthew Tivnen. You picked a guy that graduated from his paralegal studies program, an ABA approved program, Phi Theta Kappa. That's an international scholastic society, Matthew Tivnen. I got a $3,000 scholarship for scholastic excellence. I've worked at the juvenile court in Minneapolis. I know how the court functions. And I've seen enough here in Worcester to know that this place could use an awful lot of improvement in terms of the way the police relate to the citizens. And nothing's going to stop me from doing that, because I think it's for the public good. And if you want to work with me, because we're going to be proposing programs down there at the Emmanuel Baptist Church that are designed to work with the police, so that your job isn't so tough, and so that we can bring people to the Lord out of that mess that you find them in. So get ready for that too. See, let's see how big and bad you are when it comes to working together to solve this problem. All right. Well, people, this is Brother Mike signing off. I want to thank you, let you know that I love you, and hey, keep the peace.